Hi, everyone. Welcome to this interview series by Core Recruitment. Thank you very much for joining us today. Core Recruitment, as you may be aware, is a global recruitment consultancy. We do mid to senior level for exec and non-exec positions across all business functions. We're really lucky to have an amazing lineup of speakers as part of this series and previous series, all that can be viewed on our website, corerecruitment.com. This interview series is all about giving 20 minutes insights to key individuals, businesses, and people doing interesting things to kind of give a bit of positivity into our sector. And also share some insight about those individuals as well. And today I'm incredibly fortunate to be joined by the legend, I'm going to say the word legend again, who is Roger Wade, the founder of Boxpark, amongst many other things. Hi, Roger, how are you?
I'm very good. I mean, not so sure about legend. It must be legendary idiots or something. I
I'm
just want
good.
to say, Christian, Jesus, when did you turn into a host and presenter? That was a bit good.
I normally bump into Roger wandering around Soho House Festival when I'm the worst side of a couple of bottles of beer. So it's we're doing things professionally today. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay.
We're going to go straight in because we've got 20 minutes to kind of like run through things. So having known you for many years, one thing that always comes across with you is that you've got a really strong sense of justice and you always have the courage of your convictions to follow things through. Where does this come from?
Wow. Okay. It's really weird because I was very apolitical uh, prior to Brexit. I never was. I wouldn't call myself strongly political. Yes, when I went to university, like everyone else, we went on the C&D, like Greenpeace. We went on the Wapping marches. It's just what you did. We almost did it because it was fun. So I went to a very radical university. We went on Sussex University or University of Sussex. We went on strike. I don't know why, because I never actually turned up to any lectures. So I don't know what I was striking about, but what the hell? Everyone else was striking. I striked. Um, and so I guess I did sort of grow up in a culture or generation in the 80s where there was a strong sense of standing up for what was right and what wasn't right. I mean, if we really look at the parallels of, look at what C&D was doing at Greenham Common, where Greenham Common was an American nuclear base, and C&D protesters would regularly climb over the fence and regularly, I guess, scrawl something or sit on top of a roof. But we're in a society now where if you do something like that, the organization gets prescribed as being terrorists. So that's, let's call it plasticine action group. I'm not, I don't fancy getting arrested. So we're in a crazy world now it's a really frightening world where I really feel that it isn't democracy. It's not about free speech, that literally people are frightened to stand up for their values. And I don't understand that world. That's not a world that I ever grew up with. So I guess my political activity was maybe stirred from university and it really awoke during Brexit because I just don't do stupidity. I don't, I don't, as a leader, go into my business organization, make a wrong decision, and go, "Oh, that's all right. We're going to keep that wrong decision. It's fine. We're just no. If I make a wrong decision, I change it. That's what good leadership is about. So I knew Brexit would be a disaster for the British economy. And unfortunately, I've been right. I don't care what anyone else says. What everyone else says, it's not truthful. It's absolutely been so damaging to our economy. And that's frankly why we've got a lot of good people leaving the UK. That's frankly why our economy is really struggling. And I wrote to the 2 million visitors of Boxpark prior to the uh, referendum.
Mm,
They don't do this. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be damaging. You're just being sold a wrong bill of goods These people are saying take back control. We never lost control. We were a part of a single market, and every single market has got rules to it. That's how it works. And effectively, we had political leaders that were doing things for their own good. And that really annoyed me. And I've always had a bit of a dislike. To be honest, I went to a state education, and I always had a bit of a friendly dislike towards, people that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And I think that was largely because we swapped one week. I went to Westminster School and they came to Crown Woods, which was the largest comprehensive in London. And I just realised what a bunch of pompous, arrogant twats these people were. And they simply believed that the rules of society didn't apply to them. And I think that was the same with Brexit. I think we had a bunch of pompous, arrogant twats like Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg and Michael. Help me out here.
Yeah, no, I think the whole crowd of them.
Yeah, let's just go all of them that were just doing things for their own political gain. And I just thought it was awful. And then since then, I've just not shut up. Just sort of talk about.
Because the way that you put things across and the genuine nature and the way you speak about things, I think actually captures the frustrations that a lot of us have. I mean, would you ever consider a career in politics? This must be something that's ran through your head previously, right?
Do I look stupid? Am I stupid? Don't we? No. I couldn't think of a worse career than being a politician, because I've seen what politics does to people's values. What really annoys me is that somebody who hasn't got a strong background in politics or economics is feeling a need to speak up because there's a vacuum when it comes to our leadership.
I agree.
Where is the leadership that was shown by previous successive great leaders that this country had? Whether you agree with their political standpoint or not, where was the Tony Blairs? Where were the Margaret Thatchers? Where were these great political leaders that had values? No, political leadership now doesn't seem to have any values, and anyone that shows any form of leadership seems to be a victim of propaganda or smear campaign. Let's look at what's happening to Sadiq Khan with Andy Burnham. Both, I think, have been excellent mayors, but yet they're victims of a smear campaign. So what really annoys me is that we're not recruiting the best people to become politicians, because frankly, the way they act is so childish. It's disgraceful what the Houses of Parliament have turned into. It's like a school ground. And what we need to do is get back to sensible politicians. Actually, what we need to do is get back to boring politicians who do the right thing. It's not about their career. It's about doing the right thing. And I'm in a fortunate position. I can swear, can't I?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. I've got fuck you money. Okay. That is the greatest gift that I've been given. I worked really hard for it, but I've got fuck you money. I can do what I want, say what I want, providing I haven't libeled anyone. And what I do now is just speak my truth. My daughter said something, who's my biggest critic, who is probably a more educated version of myself, been to all the best schools, been to all the universities. It was a bad idea. It's basically like arguing with yourself, but a better educated version. And she said something very profound to me, because she never compliments me on anything. She said to me, "Dad, you've made loads of money, but what else have you done?" And that got me. I mean, I came from a council estate. I had everything I did, my own bare hands. Well, not bare hands, I guess, with my brain, but you get the idea. But it was right. And what I swore when I sold Boxpark was I was going to give something back to society. I was going to leave this world a little bit better than I found.
Yep.
And I was going to say my truth. That's all. Just be truthful. Stand up for those people less fortunate. It doesn't matter if it upsets people. If people are being victimized, if people are being prejudiced, if people are being killed wrongly, stand up for them. If we're making the wrong political decision, stand up against it. Don't worry about what's best for Roger Wade. Just think, what is best for this country? What is best for the future generation? So I'm a great advocate for the environment. I am standing up for the Palestinian cause because in my time, I've never witnessed a genocide like I'm witnessing now. And I will stand up for our country to rejoin the European single market, and I will stand against racism in all forms. And over my dead body, would I want Nigel Farage and some of his racist cronies joining, leading this country, because they're trying to dress up their racist viewpoints, but they are racist. They've said racist statements. It's clear they've said racist and misogynistic statements on social media.
Absolutely, 100%. Sticking just very quickly with the politics side of things for one more minute, but there's a lot that's been said in the hospitality media specifically about how this government is anti-business and specifically anti-hospitality business. If there was one thing, as somebody who set up a very successful hospitality brand and business, that you think this government could do to help entrepreneurs or to help hospitality to thrive, what would that be?
Well, firstly, I don't accept that. I think this current Labour government has inherited a basket case of an economy, and they have to make some very tough decisions. I don't agree with all the decisions. I don't agree with the rise in the national insurance contribution, for instance. I don't agree with the sort of really onerous inheritance tax positions. So if I was to say, I'm not just going to say one, I'm going to say two or three things. Firstly, rather than trying to fill the tax black hole that exists, which is estimated to be 40 billion post-Brexit, and try to tax your way out of it, solve it by look at the root cause of why we've got that tax black hole. And that is Brexit. So let's just put our hands up and go, even Nigel Farage says this, it's not the Brexit I intended. Well, he didn't know. No one had plans for Brexit. So clearly it was never planned out. So just put our hand up and say, Brexit is not working. Let's rejoin the single market.
Yeah.
My number one advice, let's encourage the free movement of young Europeans who were an incredible contribution to this country, especially the hospitality industry. Let's get rid of those onerous national insurance contributions. Let's make sure that people are able to be paid a fair wage and not be overtaxed. And let's encourage growth in our economy. But let's also take care of those less fortunate. Okay, so let's invest in social services. Let's invest in the NHS. So what's the root cause? What's the root solution? Solve the economy. Solve the economy. Everything else is just, putting a plaster over a major artery wound. We need to look at the artery wound. The artery wound is Brexit. We need to rejoin the single market. And anyone that's telling you that we shouldn't, they just simply don't know. They don't know. I'm sorry. They do not have a clue what they're talking about. Every major economist will tell you that Britain desperately needs to rejoin the single market. We cannot operate outside of a major market. We've done nothing. Our largest trading partner before Brexit was the European Union, and all of the things that we've done post then has been literally, as I said, taking a plaster to a major artery wound. It reminds me of the famous Monty Python scene where the guy gets his leg chopped off and he goes, "What are you talking about? It's just a flesh wound." Your fucking leg is chopped off. You need to solve it. That's what we need to do. So Keir Starmer, stop playing politics, and rejoin the single market. And the only party, let me be clear, that is supporting rejoining the single market, and they currently have my support, is the Lib Dems. And that's why I'll be voting for the Lib Dems. I want boring. I don't want politicians who are out for their own personal gain. I want politicians, I don't even know their names, but they get on and do the right thing.
Absolutely. I mean, and Roger, with all of this kind of like talk of like the political situation and all that side of things, that's been quite well documented that I think it's now 17,000 multimillionaires have now left the UK for tax reasons and tax purposes and all of that kind of stuff. Moving to Dubai anytime soon?
Look, you might want to edit this out, but you can pay me to move to Dubai. If I was younger and I was in my 20s or 30s, yes, go, of course, go for the adventure. I really would encourage you, but I've got a family, I've got homes in the UK. I've actually sort of got used to the shitty weather. I like the way I love British people. I am British. I love the multicultural society that we've created. I think London is one of the greatest cities in the world. I was
Totally agree.
from London. I love my golf, so I won't be moving anytime soon. But look, I understand those people that do want to move, but I'm going to stay here. I'm going to fight for a better Britain. I'm going to make sure that reform don't get in because people have been lied to. It's another Brexit vote. Immigration is just the tip of the iceberg. The reality is that Brexit led to the very people that preached Brexit, Nigel Farage. Brexit led to a 4 times increase in net immigration from something like 250,000 to 1 million. So the same guys that are telling you, we're all about immigration, they caused the problem. What we need to go back to is encouraging fantastic European workers to come in this country. And we don't need to bring in workers from our Commonwealth countries as a result of that. I think we need to focus on that. And they're all net tax contributors. So it's absolutely daft to actually isolate this country further. If we do that, it will be disastrous. It won't be Great Britain. It'd be Little Britain. It'd be like a sketch, wouldn't it?
Absolutely love that phrase. Now, you gave a brilliant interview, and if anyone's got time to kind of like, do this, Google the interview where Roger mentioned about going from poverty to having £40 million. I don't know if that was a confirmed figure or not, but could you just give us some highlights of this journey? Because I've watched this and it's incredible, mate.
I didn't personally get 40 million, but I saw the company.
It's a good headline though, bloody hell.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, my story is a rags to riches. It actually is a riches to rags to riches, which is my dad came from a wealthy Malaysian family. My mum came from the ultimate poor Irish family. My mum was a very attractive Irish woman. She met my dad at studying in Dublin at UCD. They had a child out of wedlock. They then ran off to London, had my sister, got disowned by both their families, and then I came.
Wow.
I came along when I was born a couple of years later, 1966, when there was a lot of racism in Britain. This is a time of on the buses, you just, love thy neighbour. It was outright racism, Enoch Powell sort of era. So I spent my early years from about 2. I left UK, went back to Malaysia. I went to Malaysia from about 2 to 7. Unfortunately, my parents broke up because there's a lot of racism there. Malaysia was a Muslim society, although my dad was Chinese Malay. There was a lot of racism towards the Chinese, and my mum and dad separated. And my mum came back with 2 children to London with literally the clothes on her back in 1970s London. Okay, so early 1970s. And, I grew up in South London. I had a lot of racism. At the age of 16, I nearly died from a racial attack. And that really stuck with me. I went to university. I failed my exams because I was really emotionally tarnished after the attack.
What happened to you, if you don't mind me asking?
I got what you in South London, what you got described as bottled. I had a bottle put in the side of my face, and it missed my artery by about, a centimeter, and I would have died.
Good Lord.
And it was an unprovoked attack. I didn't even know who it was, but effectively it was, I guess, racially motivated or socially socially motivated. I just didn't even know the people. So, how did I was separating fight next minute, that happened. Um, and I ended up going to university, not getting a very good degree in environmental science. I failed my medical exams, and I was bright before that. And then after university, got sacked in my first three jobs, and just came to the conclusion if I didn't employ myself, then no one else was going to employ me. And then I started my first business from a market store, and that business became a streetwear brand called Boxfresh, and we were one of the first streetwear brands. And I grew that business over the next 15 years. And by the time I was 40, I guess I was a millionaire, or on pay. Well, I guess I was. Well, I was a millionaire. And I then worked for Pentland for a couple of years with the company that bought me, who do own the majority stake in JD Sports and used to be the owner of Reebok and own loads of brands. Didn't really enjoy corporate life. Then set up my own brand consultancy company, ran that for about 5 years, got sick and tired of guys like me with huge egos that never listened. And then in the middle of the night, I just came up with the concept of Boxpark, which was, I knew retail from fashion, and I had a friend that ran a retail development in America, and I worked in America when I ran Box Fresh, and I had a love of container architecture. And literally in the middle of the night, I just went, I can have a whole retail development built out containers, and it's going to be for independent units and streetwear brands. And I built Box Park, and it launched with great fanfare, but then we really struggled, and then we had to pivot the business from streetwear to street food, and then we started doing events, and then the rest was history. We became one of Britain's fastest growing companies. And when I left it, we had 3 sites doing over 20 million, making over 5 million EBITDA. And I sold the business in a 40 million plus valuation to Lloyd's Development Capital. And I've sat on the board of that business for the past couple of years, and I can announce to you that I've just stepped down and I'm about to do my next business. So, that's
That is super exciting. I want to move on to the next business thing and the next question, but people talk a lot about, and obviously you put time, effort, energy into the business, part of your soul, all of that side of things for like a long period of time. And people talk a lot about this kind of like entrepreneur's remorse or this owner's remorse when they kind of sell the company in terms of who am I? What is my personality? What is my purpose? What is my function? Did you ever experience any of that?
I can really answer that simply no. I had delight. I put my heart and soul into these business. So by the time I was ready to, I've been really fortunate with timing. I just followed my gut instinct. Look, I just don't feel I can contribute. So my first business, Box Fresh, I was there for 15 years. Well and truly, I'd sort of come to the end of that journey. Brands Incorporated, I guess I still run. But Box Park, I ran it for 10 years, and it was just time to step down. And I just really believe in reinventing myself and challenging myself. And then I've gone now into setting up my own venture capital fund, Boxfund,
Hmm.
financing and supporting the next generation of purpose-led consumer brands that are not only good for you, but better for the world. I think it comes back to what my daughter said to me. What I want in my legacy or my tombstone is here's Roger Wade. You know, he wasn't a see you next Tuesday. He's actually left this place a little bit better than he found it. That's all I want. And I want to leave a legacy in which I left this place. My left, Britain a bit better than I found it. I'm extremely patriotic. I want this country to be great. It gave me all the opportunities I could ever dream of, and I'm probably more patriotic than anyone that I know. So don't let the color confuse you. And I know that's true of many people that are Indian, Chinese, that are Muslim, that are Christian. They're really patriotic about this country. They recognize what this country has given them. And I'm definitely in that camp. I love this country. I hate seeing it being a laughing stock. And I think we are.
Absolutely. Coming back to Boxfund, can you tell us about some of the investments that you've made? If it's your money, other people's money, how you're kind of like managing all of that side of things, and I guess what the plans for Boxfund are moving forward.
Yeah. So coming out of Boxpark, sort of naively, I obviously had what they call, with people that got money, they call it, or university or London Business School, they call it a liquidity event. In South London, I basically made a shitload of money, and so I was like, well, what am I going to do? Right, I'm going to reinvest it. So I decided to reinvest half of it into uh, my own enterprise. So I basically I started doing some investments, personal investments in a variety of different things. And then I realized there was a real gap in the market for an operator-led fund. So most of the VC firms are led by financiers, and they're doing a great deal for themselves. They're great at raising money, but they're not good at adding any value, and they're great at getting a great exit for themselves. Well, I believe my secret sauce is adding value. My secret sauce is I've got a 35-year track record in consumer brands. And what I believe is the future of all consumer brands will be purpose-led brands. So that's the fund we've set up. I won't go into many of the investments, but I think a notable investment that we made is nude gum.
Nice.
The slogan is chew plants, not plastic. And I absolutely love that. It's you know what? If I could do anything in life, it would be to help the CEO and founder of that business, Keir Carney, to be successful. Because what are they solving? Well, 99% of all gum is plastic. And so plastic gum is not only really bad for the environment. In the UK alone, we produce 4 billion pieces. They don't biodegrade. They're all over our streets.
Yeah.
Clog up all of our drains. They never biodegrade. And now recently they found that there's lots of plastic in your brain. I think up to a credit card's worth of plastic in your brain. And actually, you're chewing plastic in gum. That's one of the only places that you ever eat plastic.
There's a credit card worth of plastic in everyone's brain.
In some people's brains, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's leading to dementia, it's leading to strokes. It's a big issue. And actually, this is one of the worst, not this, but plastic gum is. So nude is a plant-based gum. So what happened is, when the GIs first came over, in the Second World War, they were chewing gum. Gum was then plant-based. It was made from a plant called chicle. And what we did in the 60s and 50s, 60s and 70s, there was a plastic revolution, and they started chewing on plastic. And the plant-based version got eradicated because it was much cheaper to have plastic. I guess it's the same with plastic PVC glazing, with plastic everything, plastic Tupperware, plastic, everything was plastic, from the petrochemical industry. Well, now they've shown plastic is really bad, and so I'm trying to lobby. Well, I support. I'm on the board of Nude. We are lobbying the government to ban plastic gum, which is tough.
Amazing.
We're fighting the big bad gum industry, and we're fighting the petrochemical industry, and that's a huge lobby group. But plastic gum is really bad for you. I'm sorry, it is, and it's terrible for the environment. And you shouldn't, our kids shouldn't be chewing it. And
And you can buy this on Amazon as well as in stores then, right?
oh, nice pitch. I like that. You can buy it on Amazon, yeah. You can buy it on M&S and Co-op, which are our partners. And we're really fortunate. We've had nearly 100 MPs now sign the petition to ban plastic gum. It's been spearheaded by the Liberal Democrats, which is great. I think the Greens have really joined on board, but we hope to get all party support. But that would be probably the greatest achievement of my life today, to get plastic gum ban, and I'm going to do that. And it's weird. It's sort of combined two sort of worlds together, and which is my love of political justice, or my growing love of political justice, and standing up for things that are wrong. In this,
Yeah,
people don't know about the threats caused by plastic gum. People don't even know it's plastic. The gum industry have got a nasty secret. They don't label it as plastic. They call it gum base, which I think is disgraceful. And so my political lobbying and my belief that the future of all consumer brands will be better for you or better for the world. So, yeah.
that's amazing. I'm telling everyone I meet for the rest of the week about that credit card thing, though, because that's absolutely shocking and people just don't know that. That's insane.
And they're trying to bury it as well, which is because the petrochemical industry and the plastic industry will come up, it's like almost like the smoking is good for you industry.
Yeah, 100%.
But
Now, just in terms of the new venture, moving on to that, because you haven't moved 100% away from containers. So can you tell us a little bit about it and how you're launching it and how it's going?
I don't know when this is coming out, but it's been officially announced next month. But I've stepped down from the Boxpark board, and I've invested in a business which does container kitchens and supplies container kitchens to the hospitality and event industry. So I'll never be operating them, but I'll be supplying, hopefully, people like Boxpark and anyone in the hospitality and the event industry that's looking for modular kitchens. And really, what is resolving the issue of is when you have a lot of temporary kitchens, they're not hygienic, or they're not uniform. So you go to places and they're from gazebos. That should not be allowed, because you can have rats running around. It's going to get in there. You can have water coming through. Or if you're going to somewhere like Ascot, you might have a multitude of different sort of burger vans. And they really are careful about curating their image. So we deliver these beautiful commercially fitted out kitchens in a container. We drop them off, we pick them back up, and people can rent or buy them for us. So, yeah.
And what stage is the business at? Is there a brand? Is there a logo? Is this under development?
No. We've got a whole management team organizing prototypes. We're developing all of our marketing material. We're sort of lining up lots of clients. So yeah, it's good.
That's amazing. And with the whole kind of cloud kitchen side of things, then are a lot of these companies your clients, or is it tending to be kind of?
So we've got sort of the key clients that we've identified, because we've got four models to begin with. We've got event kitchens, so they're a 20-foot container with 16-foot opening, and another one with an 8-foot opening. We've got a bar for events again.
Nice.
I think it's another. I think it's a 40-foot container, that one. And then we also got a dark kitchen with a door. So our principal customers are major event organizers and football stadium and horse racing tracks and stuff, major event venues. And then obviously independent food traders or multiples. and then people that want to have dark kitchens as well. So your Just Eats and your uh, Deliveroos and the traders that need those units.
Amazing. That's really great. Well, best of luck with it. I hope it all goes very well, but no doubt it'll be another. It's like this box thing seems to be. I'm trying to think about it. Also, I can put like the word box in front of. Do you know what I mean? And then go from there, Roger. It's a good vibe, right?
Yeah, listen, you know, you're on a good thing. Just keep going. So it's done me good. So I'm sticking to the box thing.
Exactly. There's a formula, 100%. So, crystal ball, 2026. What three things do you think business leaders and entrepreneurs should be looking out for, Roger?
Okay, look. The problem is that everyone wants to complicate business. So I just have a formula. So it doesn't matter whether it's 26, 27, 25. What there's three key pillars to running a successful consumer brand. And that's what I look at. So what are those three key pillars? You've got to be fantastic at product. If your product is not special, you will not exist. So focus on your product. Make sure your product proposition is absolutely fantastic. You can have the best product in the world, but unless you attract traffic to that product, unless you've got a great customer acquisition strategy, a great marketing team, then you're not going to be successful. And then finally, you need to work on your team that's going to take that great product, take the traffic that you've generated to that product, and turn it into profitable sales. So it doesn't change for me. It doesn't matter about the year. For me, is take your organization, make sure that you've got those three key pillars covered off, right? And you understand them and focus them: product, customer acquisition strategy, and team. And don't let the bean counters make the decisions. Let the product people, let the marketeers, let the operational side of business make the decision. And the bean counters can just let you know if you've made money or not.
I love that as a narrative. Look, Roger, thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us today. I found that massively insightful. We massively ran over on time, but I think it was really worth it and it's really great content. So thank you very much for being with us today. Just want to say again, if you want to watch another really good interview, the one about Roger going from poverty to selling a business for 40 million is well worth a watch. And it's quite inspirational on that side of things as well.
On a final note, and I don't need to say this, I've known Christian for at least 10 years. And I would encourage all the listeners out there that are looking to get into the hospitality business, or unfortunately looking for jobs elsewhere, that you could do no worse than working with Core Recruitment. They are an absolute specialist when it comes to hospitality. And we were approached by many, and we generally only gave the best jobs to Core. So Christian, I appreciate you interviewing me today. I wouldn't have interviewed with you unless I had a high regard for you. And I know that you'll go from strength to strength. And I wish you all the best.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks very much, Roger. That's a really nice ending. I really appreciate it. Okay, cool. Thanks very much now. Bye, everyone.